Nobody noticed the day it started. Nobody ever does. There was no announcement, no applause, no camera crew. Just a quiet Tuesday morning, a cup of tea going cold on a kitchen counter, and one person making one almost embarrassingly small decision. They decided to read one page of a book before bed. That's it, one page. Not a chapter, not 100 pages. One. A decision so tiny it barely deserves to be called a decision at all. And yet, 5 years later, that same person had read over 200 books, launched a business, changed their health, transformed their relationships, and built a life that their former self would have called impossible. How? How does something so small grow into something so staggering? That is the question this message is going to answer. And I promise you, by the time we reach the end, you will never look at small beginnings the same way again. Somewhere along the way, most of us absorbed a dangerous idea. We were told, directly or indirectly, that the size of your beginning determines the size of your outcome. We looked at successful people and assumed they must have started big. They must have had the perfect plan, the right connections, the massive head start. They must have been exceptional from day one. So when we looked at our own lives, our modest savings, our uncertain skills, our very ordinary mornings, we quietly decided that we were not enough to start. We told ourselves, I will begin when I am ready. I will start when conditions are better. I will move when the moment is right. And we waited, and we kept waiting. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The most successful people in the world did not start big. They started consistent. There is a canyon of difference between those two things. Starting big is a fantasy. Starting consistent is a strategy. And strategy applied with patience is the most powerful force in human history. Success is not a lightning strike. It is a slow, quiet fire, built one small log at a time. Let me tell you something that scientists discovered about habits. Something that quietly explains almost every great achievement ever made. When you perform a new action for the first time, your brain treats it as unfamiliar territory. It has to work hard. It sends signals carefully like a traveler moving through a forest with no path. It is slow. It is tiring. It feels uncomfortable. But here is where it gets extraordinary. Every time you repeat that same action, your brain begins to carve a deeper groove. The path through the forest gets a little clearer. The signals travel a little faster. The effort required becomes a little less. And with enough repetition, something almost miraculous happens. The behavior becomes automatic. It stops requiring willpower. It stops needing motivation. It simply becomes who you are. Scientists call this process myelination. The brain wrapping layers of insulation around the neural pathways you use most often, making them faster and more efficient each time. In plain language, every time you practice a small habit, your brain is physically rewiring itself to make that habit easier. The habit is not just changing what you do, it is changing who you are at a biological level. This is why tiny habits are not small in their impact. They are small in their demand, which means you can actually do them. And when you actually do them, the compounding begins. And compounding is where things get genuinely breathtaking. If you improve by just 1% every day for a full year, you will end that year not 1% better. You will be 37 times better. 37 times. From 1% a day. From the smallest, most humble improvement imaginable. Now flip it. If you decline by 1% each day, you will shrink to nearly zero. The same law, working in reverse. The math does not lie. Tiny habits are not a consolation prize for people who cannot think big. They are the secret weapon of everyone who actually gets there. Close your eyes and picture the biggest, oldest oak tree you have ever seen. Thick as a car. Branches that reach out like arms trying to embrace the whole sky. Roots so deep they have outlasted buildings and generations and storms that would have leveled lesser things. Now picture the acorn it came from. A little thing, brown and modest. So unremarkable you could carry 100 of them in your pocket without noticing the weight. A child might throw one at a friend and laugh. Nobody looks at an acorn and gasps. Nobody frames one and hangs it on the wall. And yet, inside that acorn is the complete, unabridged blueprint of everything the oak will ever become. Every branch, every root, every leaf. Every year of shade it will one day provide to exhausted travelers who haven't even been born yet. All of it, already present, already written, already waiting for the conditions to begin the quiet, patient, unstoppable process of becoming. You are an acorn. You carry inside you everything you need to become the thing you are meant to be. But like the acorn, you cannot skip the process. You cannot go from seed to oak tree overnight. You have to go through the dark soil first. You have to push up through the dirt before you ever see the light. You have to grow slowly, invisibly, for longer than feels comfortable, trusting that what is happening underground is real, even when nothing shows above the surface. The oak does not apologize for having been an acorn, it simply grows. Now I want to talk about the part that breaks most people, because there is a chapter in every success story that does not make it into the highlight reel. Nobody posts about it. Nobody puts it in their biography, but it is the chapter that decides everything. It is the long, invisible middle. It is the phase where you have started your tiny habit. You are showing up, you are doing the work, but nothing seems to be happening. The scale has not moved, the business has not grown, the skill does not feel sharper, the breakthrough has not come, and the world around you has not noticed, has not changed, and shows no signs of caring what you are doing at all. This is the valley where most people stop. They stop not because they failed, they stop because they could not see. They looked at their small efforts and compared them to the enormous outcomes they wanted, and the gap between the two seemed laughable. So they quit. They told themselves, this is not working. They went back to their old life and carried the quiet ache of an unlived potential. But here is what they did not know. Chinese bamboo. Have you heard of it? You plant Chinese bamboo. You water it. You nurture it. And for 4 years, 4 full years, nothing appears above the ground. Not a sprout, not a shoot, not even a suggestion. A stranger walking past would have no idea anything was ever planted there. 4 years of faithful work with nothing visible to show for it. And then in the 5th year, in a period of just 6 weeks, Chinese bamboo grows 90 feet tall. But here's the question that should stop you in your tracks. Did the bamboo grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet over 5 years? It grew over 5 years. Every one of those 4 silent years was spent building the root system strong enough to support what was coming. Without the invisible foundation, the explosion of growth would have been impossible. Your habits are building your roots, even when you cannot see it, especially when you cannot see it. Do not judge your progress by what is visible. Judge it by whether you kept going on the days nothing seemed to be happening. There is something deeper happening with tiny habits that most people miss entirely. Something more important than the results they produce. Every time you keep a small commitment to yourself, you cast a vote for a particular identity. And with enough votes, the identity wins. When you go for a walk every morning, even a short walk, even a slow one, you are not just exercising your body. You are casting a vote that says, I am someone who takes care of themselves. When you write 1 paragraph a day, you are not just filling a page. You are casting a vote that says, I am a writer. When you save even a small amount each week, you are casting a vote that says, I am someone who builds financial discipline. And here is the power of that. Once you genuinely believe you are that kind of person, the behavior stops being a struggle. You do not have to wrestle with motivation every morning. You do not have to fight yourself into the gym. You do not have to force the words onto the page, because you are just being who you are. The goal was never the habit. The goal was always the identity. The habit was building inside you, quietly, one small decision at a time. This is why 2 people can follow the exact same plan and get completely different results. One is doing the habit, the other is becoming it, and becoming always wins. I want to give you something practical to carry out of this message. Something you can use today, not someday. Start smaller than you think you should, embarrassingly smaller. Do not decide you will wake up at 5 every morning, exercise for an hour, Read 50 pages, meditate, journal, eat perfectly, and call your mother, all beginning tomorrow. That plan will be dead by Thursday, and you know it. Instead, pick one thing, one tiny, almost laughably small thing. Drink 1 glass of water before your first coffee. Read 2 pages before you sleep. Write 3 sentences. Walk around the block. Breathe deeply for 60 seconds. Put $10 aside. Send 1 message to someone you have been meaning to reach. Just one. Just tiny. Just consistent. Because here's the real secret, the one that most motivational speeches bury or skip entirely. The size of the habit does not matter nearly as much as the fact that it is done. Every day, without exception, with the quiet, stubborn, unspectacular faithfulness of a farmer who knows the harvest does not come the same day the seed goes in. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Make your system so small it cannot fail. I want to leave you with a thought that I hope will stay with you long after you finish reading this. Right now, in this exact moment, something has already begun in you. Maybe it was a single sentence in this message that landed differently than words usually do. Maybe it was a question you asked yourself that you have been afraid to ask before. Maybe it was just a quiet, stubborn little flame of belief that flickered to life somewhere in your chest. The kind of belief that says, maybe I am not as far behind as I thought. That flicker is real. That feeling is real. And like every small beginning, it contains inside it the full blueprint of everything it could grow into. If you would only stop waiting for the conditions to be perfect and simply begin. You do not need more time. You do not need more talent. You do not need a bigger opportunity, a better situation, or a more dramatic starting point. You need one small decision made today and then made again tomorrow. The bamboo grew 90 feet from a seed nobody looked twice at. The oak sheltering generations of travelers today was once an acorn a child kicked down a path. The empire was once an idea someone had before breakfast that they refused to abandon. And you reading this right now, in whatever season of life you find yourself, you are someone's story not yet written. You are a beginning that the world has not yet seen the end of. Do not let the smallness of the start fool you into thinking the story is small. The greatest stories always begin quietly. Yours is no different. Now begin, small, consistent, unstoppable,